What's up, Internet? Zachamus Prime, aka Zachamus Prime, here with a Macross review. And the figure we're reviewing today is the High Metal R VF-4 Lightning 3 Skull 1 edition. And that is quite a mouthful to say, so I'm just going to refer to it as the VF-4 from here on out. This is a non-canon version of the VF-4. This is him done up in a paint scheme that homages the VF-1S Roy Fokker Skull Leader style from the Macross TV show. I think this paint scheme was in a video game, but I'm not sure. I am not, unfortunately, an expert in Macross stuff, just a fan. So, but this is a very good looking figure. I have been interested in VF-4s ever since I was a small child. I first saw one, and I thought it was really, really cool looking. Of course, I already was a fan of the VF-1s because I had the Jetfire toy, and I also was a fan of the VF-19s because Macross from the Macross show that had it. Crap, I don't know why I just forgot it. Anyhow, VF-19s were definitely a thing when I was young in my formative years, and I thought that those were super slick. Though I didn't particularly fall in love with the 19 sculpt until I saw Macross Plus for the first time. But anyhow, yeah, I saw this VF-4 and I thought it was really cool and I really wanted one. Yamato made one back when they were operational, but it was like super rare and limited edition, and it quickly went up to like $500 in the aftermarket. And that is a hell of a lot of money for a dude to pay for even a pipe dream like this. Then when Yamato went defunct and Arcadia took over, Arcadia re-released the mold, but it wasn't really any more available than the original Yamato release, and that also skyrocketed in the aftermarket. And then Bandai was doing a VF-100s line years ago, and they teased the VF-4, and I was very excited for it, but then the VF-100s line died. And so that kind of sucked. But then they started coming out with their High Metal and then later the High Metal R series. And VF-4 finally made an appearance. And then this repaint came out. And I didn't even know this thing was coming out until just, by the way, here you go. It has a remolded head that I think looks more reminiscent of the VF-25S from Macross Frontier. That's Macross Frontier, right? Shit, I don't know. There's so many different Macross shows these days. But yeah, I think it's more reminiscent of the VF-25 head than the VF-1S head. But I'm not complaining because that was also a good show and a good looking plane. So yeah, this came out and I purchased it. This is my very first High Metal R figure, so there's a lot about the line that I don't know. But I was super excited to get this because I love it. And it is a really good looking figure and really, really nice. And so let's get into it a little bit. So he comes with quite a bit of accessories. He comes with, let me lay these all out. I'll put down here. So he comes with optional hands. Of course, he comes with these fists here. These are swapped out fists. His original fists are these tiny little dinky ones that are so small that they're even hard to hold. These are for the perfect transformation. These big ones will not fit into the forearm cavities, whereas these smaller ones will. So he comes with a set of perfect transformation hands, a set of gun pod holding hands. I don't think that these were on the original VF-4 toy because the VF-4 actually has integrated gun pods in its forearms, whereas so it wouldn't need any gun holding hands. So I think those might actually be stolen from the VF-1 toys. He also comes with a pair of open hands. And those are all of his hands. He comes with a set of intake covers. These are the ones that have the little intake fan detail for when you've got it like in fighter mode, for example. You can't fit either one of these, either these intake versions or the this version. You can't fit them when you are displaying it in fighter mode or gear walk mode, as the knee joint goes right through the space where the intake cover goes. He comes with a set of leg covers that you can put in. You don't have to put them in, but you can put them in fighter mode. They'll kind of clean up the look of the underside. He comes with a set of landing gear. There's a gear, there's a gear, there's a gear. They're not integrated landing gear. They're this optional thing that you can throw in. You just remove the panel here and leaves a cavity that you plug that into. I think that's actually really good. But, you know, he comes with a little teeny tiny pilot figure. This pilot figure, I don't know if he's a repaint of a different pilot figure from a different High Metal R figure. He kind of looks like he's got the he kind of looks like the Macross Do You Remember Love style suit, but come on, focus. But I'm really not sure. Like I said, I'm not an expert, just a fan. He comes with a gun pod. This gun pod was straight up stolen from the VF-1 line. This is exactly identical in every way, shape, and form to all of them that come in there, except the UN Spacey is upside down. I believe for the other VF-1 toys, it was in its proper configuration, whereas here it's upside down. It's meant to go so it looks the right side up when it's in fighter mode, which would be like this. So, like I said, the original VF-4 did not come with a gun pod because it's got the integrated gun pods in the forearms, but this one comes with a gun pod, and it comes with a gun pod mounting accessory for fighter mode. I'll get into those in fighter mode. He comes with a stand adapter for robot mode, focus, and a stand adapter for gear walk and fighter mode. And those work really well. And of course, he also comes with a stand. This is identical to, I think it's the Tamashii Soul Act 3 or Tamashii Stand Act 3 or 4. I don't know exactly. If you look up Tamashii stands, you'll find it. One of these comes with every VF4, every High Metal R release. Most of them have got, you know, customized colors or printing on them or whatnot, but every single one of them comes with one. The stand, though, is also sold separately, and as a quick aside, I want to point out that these stands are really nice for holding other figures. Like, for example, let me move this over here. Pretty much every modern Transformer has got a 3mm peg hole where you could take any 3mm stand. Like I said, Tamashii Soul Stage, every High Metal R figure comes with one, but they're sold separately. Figma stands also work really good, but Figmas they only come with Figma stands. They're not sold separately, and Figmas are getting stupid expensive these days. So that can plug in. Most modern Transformers have got holes for either a hole that works for both robot mode and vehicle mode, or they'll have a separate hole for robot mode. And there's the one for that robot mode, and it plugs into that. So you can have them flying around a little bit. And I mean, they all do. Here's Soundwave. Soundwave has got one right there, in case you were ever wondering what that's for. And I can point it out on so many different figures, but I don't have the time or the place here. Maybe I'll get into that later. So let me put these aside for a bit so they don't get in my way. My desk is becoming kind of cluttered. But yeah, in fighter mode, to use this, all you got to do is turn it around. Let me bank this up a little bit. This just plugs in just like that. It kind of clips in just a little bit. And then you can stick it on the stand just like so. And then, you know, of course, pose it. It's got a click down here and rotation, of course. It's not a click up here, but it is fairly stiff. This one down here ratchets and is pretty sturdy. You can also rotate it at the base, like so. And so, yeah, you can have him in aerial poses, or you can have him in a like a pose, like a ground pose that wouldn't really stand on its own. I don't know, whatever you want. But yeah, that's the base. I'll try to remember to talk about it in gearwalk mode and in fighter mode. So, and let me see if I can get this off. There we go. There we go. Put that aside. Put all of his accessories aside. And let's talk about his articulation for just a little bit. His head is on a big old ball joint. Of course, there's a lot of other joints in here, so you got to be careful not to slop everything around too much. Or you could also say that's some giggity, I don't know. But his head rotates all the way around. Keep in mind that his head is like tiny on the front and huge on the back. So, but I mean, there's more than enough space here for him to rotate without clanking into everything. So that's nice. His arms are nice. I kind of wish that there was a mechanism in here to slide this arm forward by just like a couple millimeters. That would provide some good rotation, because as it is, if you move his arm, whoops, there's this conformal missile coming off. The conformal missiles, by the way, let me talk about that for a second, because that's kind of an accessory. He's got conformal missiles, 2 on each arm, 3 on each leg. He also has a pair on his torso that you can't really see in fighter mode. These don't come off, but all of these other ones do. The pegs for arm missiles and leg missiles, damn you, come off, are different. So you can't swap them up, but all the leg ones are the same and all the arm ones are the same. So luckily these don't fall off with a faint breath as the Yamato Arcadia ones do, but they do fall off if you apply pressure to them, like I did when I was rotating this arm, and I just kind of had my finger on there because that was convenient. Anyhow, I was saying I wish that his arm kind of went forward, because when you have his arm all the way forward, it barely sticks out. Like that elbow comes right to that cover, and I wish that it stuck out a bit more. But anyhow, that's on a ball joint, so you can get some motion to it. That ball joint is also on a hinge, but though it's not super useful, but you can kind of lower it down a little bit. Raise it up a bit. It goes forward, it goes back. There is a bicep swivel here, so you can swivel this all around, and an elbow joint with more than 90 degrees. Just barely more. In fact, we're just going to call it 90 degrees. 90 degrees of bend. He does have a transformation joint here, but that's not going to do you a lot of good for posability. His hands are just on a simple ball joint. They'll rotate around and kind of wiggle around a little bit. Swapping the mount is easy enough because they are just ball joints. So you can take this figure here, and I'll just kill 2 accessories with 1 stone. You can cram the gun pod into this fist. They are made out of a soft vinyl-y plastic, like PVC or something like that. Cram that into there. Stick the finger in the finger hole. And then you just kind of unplug this and re-plug in that. Make sure it seats properly, and there you go. He can shoot stuff with his gun pod and shoot stuff with his integrated gun pod, so he can shoot 2 things at the same time. He does come with left and right trigger fingers, but only 1 gun pod, so You get your choice, I suppose, or you can give him something else to hold. I don't know. One of the things I like to have him holding when I had him displays is I've got this little revolver that came with a different figure and works really well with it. Also, I like my robots with swords, so anyhow, onto the legs. His leg is on a swing bar that goes forward a bit and backwards a bit. It's really stiff, though, so you're not going to get a whole lot of functionality about it. At least I don't on my copy here. The leg will go all the way forward there till it bangs up against this part in the chest, and will go all the way back till it bangs up against this part in the back. Little bit of rotation on that ball joint, and it goes out for, let's say, maybe 70% of a Van Dam, maybe 65. I don't know. He does have, this is a transformation joint, but you may find when you have him standing out that it might use that joint a little bit to kind of bow out his legs, like he's riding a horse. His knee joint is not the most attractive knee joint in the world, but it is double jointed. It goes all the way down. He can kick himself in the ass if you want him to. Very nice, actually. Everybody loves the guy who kicks himself in the ass. Right? That's what I was told. I don't know. This little fin moves around, but I think mostly why it moves around is so that you can move it instead of break it, because it's not really, like, this is the mode that it stays in all three modes. This is the position, more or less. His ankle is a compound of joints. There's a ball joint in here that rotates, goes forward and back and side to side just a little bit. You can yank on this. No, this is already out. Yeah, it retracts in. It doesn't come out any further. So this is out as far as it'll go. There goes another one of those conformal missiles, and there it goes back in. Below that ball joint, you have a hinge that goes forward and back quite a bit, forward a little bit. Of course, this is mostly for gear walk mode, so you do want that back rotation. And then below that, there's a little bit of a side to side. This one is the stiffest of those three joints, so it's the hardest one to do. Also, as you may have just seen, toe and heel joints as well. He does have some die-cast metal in him. These toe joints are die-cast metal. There is a little bit of die-cast metal in some of his joints and struts and whatnot. There's a die-cast metal section in the crotch, which is chipping just a little bit. That's unfortunate. Not a whole lot of metal in him for being a high metal figure, but oh well. We'll forgive him. Oh my. There's a clip that keeps everything in place in the robot mode, and mine seems to be being a little bit weird. In terms of gripes of any kind, because of the way, like I already mentioned, the thing about his arm joints I think are a little bit weird. I do kind of wish that they'd put some paint up in here, like some paint inside that slot would have been nice, and some paint up in this arched area would have been nice. It would have been really nice if they had done this in black and tampoed a skull on there. That would have been perfect. But, oh well, I'm not the boss in charge of this project, else that's how exactly it would have been done. But all in all, this is a beautiful mode. I think for the VF4, this is my favorite mode out of the three. A lot of these Macross figures, I am super, super fond of Gearwalk mode. I don't know why, I just am. Don't hate me for it. For a quick size comparison, here he is with a deluxe class figure. So a little bit taller than it, is pricier than a deluxe class figure. If you are a collector of Macross products, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. By the way, leave me a comment if you want me to review this figure. I love it. Leave me a comment. I'll review it. I will. But let's get him transformed into his Gearwalk mode. So, first thing we want to do is we want to open up this whole chest area here. So we'll take these and flip those up. I can actually slot them back in. They'll stick in just a little bit. Flip these up, slide those in. your little vents here, they'll open and close, and they're going to automatically close just by touching them. So don't worry about that till you get everything straightened out. Otherwise, you're going to be babysitting that the whole freaking time. So what you want to do is, if your tab hasn't already, you want to get this tab undone. If you're having troubles with this tab, I feel like something in here is not plugged in. Yeah, there it is. If you're having trouble with this tab, there's a couple ways to deal with it. You can either move this up and open this, and then you've got your cockpit is right here. You can stick a finger there and stick your thumb here and just kind of push that apart. That's a good way to do it. Also, if you're having issues with it, you can just kind of take this and grab it by the nose cone crotch here and just kind of press here and move this section back a little bit, and that will undo that tab pretty well as well. So you're going to lift this up, and then you're going to kind of tease out this tab right here will unplug, and that will allow this all to flop out like so. For this one here, you got to be a little bit careful because there is a fin. It's like an antenna, but it's sandwiched in between this crotch piece and this nose cone. And so what you got to do is you got to unpeg this peg right here, and then that kind of lifts up, and then you can pull the nose out. The way this little antenna fin goes in is actually really cool. But anyhow, this whole section here, this is where the front landing gear goes, and this little tab here, that's all attached, and you kind of just put your thumb in here and push that up. That will allow you to put this nose cone into place, and then you gotta press it in so that it clicks, and then this just kind of swings up. There's a tiny little tab on the front end of that, and that'll just kind of seat in there. With that done, you can take this, you want to pull out your canards a little bit, and you want to pull out these conformal missiles. This is why these conformal missiles do not detach, because they're on these little struts. They got to get out of the way for all this stuff to move. And if they made them detach, then they would detach all the time, and you'd never be able to keep them on. So I think that's a good decision on their part. So you want to straighten this all out. You want to move the legs forward like so. And then you just kind of want to move everything up into position. Mostly you're concerned with getting this tab to come in back behind here. And then with that in place, you can just kind of tease this up into its proper space, put those conformal missiles away, and there we go. You want to open up this cover here. If you haven't opened it already, you want to fold this all the way down and then just kind of tuck this all in. That armature accordions in several places, and then you just kind of push it and wiggle it and work with it. And if it doesn't fit, wiggle it some more. And there we go. That has recessed properly in, and you'll see that it sits just flush with everything else. Really, really, really nice engineering. I love it. I love it. I love me some good engineering. And Bandai definitely knows engineering. So then from here, all you got to do is you grab your thigh and your shin, pull this out. There are a couple clicks in here. You can click it out one click. You can click it out two clicks. It's easy enough to just yank it and get that second click. But if you really want to tighten up that knee joint, you can make sure you've only got the one click. And actually, that's not going to do for Garrick mode, is it? Anyhow, bring that forward. You want to tilt this all the way back so you can get a nice aggressive gear walk stance. With the legs well spread and the nose nice and down. The thighs go back like so you can get your center of balance properly configured. And let me put this down so the figure is in view. And the gun pod looks really good in this mode as well. Like I said, the VF4 has got integrated gun pods, but I like the addition of the gun pod. You can also take and kind of just run your thumb across the back just to kind of open up these, get them properly opened. Everything tabs into place, but nothing really tabs in like super strongly. So you might bump, the nose cone out of alignment. You might bump the canards out of alignment. These little fins get bumped from time to time. The wings, the fins, these little flaps. There's a little bit of micromanaging that goes on with a figure like this, but all in all, it's worth it. It looks really good. It looks really good. It looks really good, actually. Gearwalk mode is not my favorite mode on this toy, but it's not a bad looking Gearwalk mode, especially if you've got an eye for that sort of thing. I have been a fan of Gearwalk mode ever since I was a small child and had my G1 Jetfire toy. Spent a lot of its time in Gearwalk mode. There is an adapter that you can put on here. It's just, let me push that in so it sits more flush. Actually, it probably wants to stick out a bit for Gearwalk mode, huh? But anyhow, there's an adapter. It's right here. You can plug it in right. You can see these little slots back here. And then on this adapter, you'll see it's got these little pegs in the front. Focus on the adapter. See, it's got these little pegs in the front. Those pegs fit into these holes right here. And then this comes around the leg joint and those tabs clip into those right there. So now I'm going to take, since now I'm going to have more of a flying pose, we'll take and plug this into the stand. And there he is. Let me put this back up in focus, in view, on the stand, and it looks really good. Flip these out a little bit. Open these up a little bit. I do like the care Bandai puts into these things in terms of paint apps and whatnot. Like, this is definitely not a plain looking Valkyrie. And if you guys have me review the DX Chigoken VF1S, I'll get into it really there quite a bit, because this is a very, very, it's not busy looking, but it's definitely has got livery on it, and it looks amazing. But here it's got just good details. The Macross kites, and I just love it. I just love all of it. So there he is in Gearwalk mode. There is no extra stuff. The posability on the legs and the arms is all the same. Because Gearwalk mode has things in such an extreme, whereas like the knee is bent so much. Of course, you can bend the knee all the way the other way, but it's not a pose that makes sense in a Gearwalk mindset. Again, you can put the arm all the way back, but not a pose that makes sense in a Gearwalk mode. So it has as much articulation as it needs to do pretty much anything you want it to do, and look damn good doing it. So, but anyhow, let's pull this off the base and pull the stand. You just kind of want to pull these out, and then it just comes off. So to get this transformed into fighter mode, first thing I want to do is pull off these fists. They're good looking fists, but they unfortunately do not fit in the fighter mode. Here's the fists that fit in the fighter mode. You just kind of plug them in. They work exactly the same. You know, it strikes me, if this thing doesn't have any kind of a gun pod, why does it have humanoid manipulators if it doesn't need to actually hold anything? I don't know. It's weird. It's one of the mysteries of Macross, I guess. You can see these fists look tiny and kind of pathetic, but whatever. They're not here for show. They're here for transformation, and transform they shall. I'll lift up this cover here, flip them in, close that back down, and then this will all recess down. Again, with the other side. Buzz, buzz. My phone is buzzing at me. Flip that around, close that down. For this mode, you want to take this flap and fold that all the way up, and then fold this up like that. This arm comes up and it rotates around. And then you just kind of, there's several joints in here. And I'll show you how it looks from the bottom, where you just kind of, basically there's a slot in here, and this cover is going to fit into that slot. And so you put it in position and you just kind of got to shove it all up. This part's going to recess a bit, and it will go into its home, like so. You want to take this flap here and fold that in so that folds flush. Again, with the other side, we'll do the same thing. Fold this part up, extend this up a little bit, bring this arm up and around, and then just kind of feed that cover into the slot. And everything will kind of tab in, and then you kind of push in to get that arm completely out of the way. For the legs, there's this cover right here you want to take, and you want to slide that all the way open. The leg is going to come all the way around to face the other way, and then you're going to slide it on this armature that goes all the way forward like that, and then it's going to fold in on itself. Oh geez, let me do this again in frame. All right, let me get this out of the way so there's less for my camera to focus on. So you want to take this, like I mentioned, you've got an integrated cover right here that clicks into place. At least it's supposed to. So you want to take this cover, you want to slide it all the way down, so it comes all the way down like that. Then you want to recess this knee all the way and then bend it back in on itself like this, kind of accordion it in. And then you want to bend it right here at that joint. And then this attaches underneath the leg, the arm, like that. Fold this in on its own and then recess that all the way in. And that is a leg all the way done. So again, with the other side, we've got that cover recessed. Bring the leg all the way in on itself. Accordion this down. Rotate it in like that. And then this will come in and clip into the arm. And if you get it all good, it will sit very, very flush. And that's fighter mode. Now, when you're in fighter mode, you can take the Yamato Arcadia VF-4 toy had integrated thigh covers. This one does not, but it has little thigh cover accessories. You can just take these, slot them into place, clip them in. They clip in really securely. Actually, they're kind of a bitch to get off. Clip those into place, and they'll just cover that up a bit. Everything on here, the fighter mode, I believe, is my favorite mode of this particular, of the VF4. It's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have got the biggest soft spot possible for the VF1 figures. Oh, hey, I missed a step. I missed the covers. I'll tell you what we're going to do so that we get some variation. I'm going to put the closed cover on one side, and these are omnidirectional, I believe. You'll see there is a little triangular looking slot in here. That's where these go, into the triangular slot. That will go in there like so. And then on this one, I'm going to have, of course, for display purposes, you would either have all both of them closed or both of them open. I'm going to have one closed and one open just so that you can see without me having to dig around with everything all the time. Oh, of course, now it doesn't want to seat again properly. And I'm going to put these thigh covers back on because why not? Whoa. Aha, that's my problem. That thigh wasn't seated all the way. There goes one of my conformal missiles again. While I've mentioned every time one of those conformal missiles has slipped off, I've seen a couple different reviews of the Arcadia Yamato VF4, and it's ridiculous how often those come off. This is nothing. So there it is. There's one closed. There's one open. That's what they look like. Just pick whichever one you like best and imagine it being on both of them, and ta-da! But anyhow, this is so sleek in fighter mode. It's so cool. When I first saw the pictures, I'm like, I don't even know how that thing transforms. It's just one of those things that was super crazy and blew my mind. And then when I actually saw like kits, like Studio Half-Eye, I think, came out with one that cost like $1 million or something, and they actually did it for reals, and I was like, that's super impressive. But anyhow, to swap out for putting in other accessories, we can take this gun pod here, and then we can plug it in right like so. This long tab here goes into this slot here, and then this other one comes in right there. Clip and clip. On the gun pod itself, you want to slide the hand off, and the handle actually comes off. This closes down, and then you've got a peg on this side here. That peg just fits right into this bracket right here. And it may be easier to put that in first and then stick it on. And there it is, sticking out the bottom. Again, the VF4 isn't designed to have this. This is all just thrown on. And the UN Spacey, like I said, it's upside down. So to put on the landing gear, you just want to yank off the landing gear covers. And then you can plug on the opening landing gear. These are all just painted plastic. There's no metal. There's no rolling wheels. But they look great. For this one here, this is kind of a bitch to get off. So what you may want to do is push on the cockpit. And like I mentioned earlier, this whole section is all one piece. And so if you push on the cockpit, you can just pull that out, and then it's super easy to pull off and then push it all back into place and put that detail in there. And the landing gear thankfully will work with the gun pod in place, but like I mentioned, with it being backwards heavy, like the center of balance is literally right over these wheels. So it'll sit, but with the barest of touches, it will fall back. You can compensate by bringing these fins down. And they will basically increase the foot area of it. But realistically speaking, if it was landing, it wouldn't be dragging these fins. It would move them up for landing. But for display purposes, we'll have to forgive it. And again, this goes on, and it goes on over the gun pod, which is cool. Just fits on like that and like that. And attach it onto the stand, and there it is. And with this, I kind of like to bring it up like that. Really, really nice. But that is it for, oh, actually, there's one accessory I didn't talk about. So the cockpit doesn't open, but it does. The canopy is removable. You can take that off. You can stick your pilot figure in here. The pilot figure like reclines like he's in a lazy boy. I'm not sure if he's exactly the right scale. And the cockpit glass, the clear plastic for it, is thick enough that you get these like weird distortions as it goes around. So the cockpit itself is nicely detailed, but there are no paint apps in there. But yeah, I've now talked about everything that comes in the figure in the box. This is a really, really nice toy. I know that the standard VF-4G, I want to say it is the canon version that was shown briefly in one of the shows or movies or episodes. I don't know exactly offhand. Like I said, I'm not an expert, just a fan. I personally much prefer the look of this Roy Fokker Skull Leader homage version. It just looks gorgeous. But that's been sitting in my display stand in my detail, standing next to my DX Chiyouken YF-19 and my VF-1S. So again, let me know in the comments if you want me to review either of my DX Chiyouken Valkyries. And I will happily do so. Anyhow, this has gone on long enough. Thanks everybody for watching. You guys are fantastic. If you watched all the way to the end, you're a true hero. And everybody stay awesome and be good to each other. See ya.